Good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference of the NATO Secretary General. He will say a few introductory words and then he will take a few questions. Secretary General.
Good afternoon. I will be very brief because I said some words on my way into this meeting, but I have just participated in the meeting of the EU defense ministers, and we discussed NATO-EU cooperation, and I'm glad to be able to say that NATO-EU cooperation has never been closer and never been stronger than it is today. And in July, we agreed on a joint statement. I agreed on a joint statement with President Tusk, President Juncker, which adds even more substance to the NATO-EU cooperation. And we discussed the implementation, the follow-up on these issues related to hybrid, cyber operations, exercises, and so on. And it's good to see that we are delivering and turning that declaration into reality. I would also like to underline that there is no contradiction between strong European defense and strong Atlantic cooperation within NATO. Actually, strong Europe makes NATO stronger. And it was clearly stated by the ministers that what we need is a Europe which provides capabilities in complementarity with NATO, and it is important to avoid duplication. So I welcome the efforts to strengthen European defense, because that will contribute to our shared security. And I welcome also that it has been conveyed very clearly that this is not about establishing anything which is duplicating the efforts of NATO, but which is in complementarity to NATO. Then let me also just add some words about the situation in Syria. The appalling attacks on Aleppo have shaken all of us, and the violence and the attacks we have seen also on an aid convoy is morally totally unacceptable, and it's a blatant violation of international law. And it underlines the importance of finding a diplomatic and peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria. And I join the international calls on Russia to show credible efforts to restore the cessation of hostilities, to allow humanitarian aid into Aleppo, and to create the conditions necessary for UN-led transition talks to resume. So I think the violence and the killing of so many civilians just underlines the importance of support all efforts to find a peaceful solution to the conflict in Syria.
You're ready for your questions. Please raise your hand, state your media. First question, AFP here on the third.
Thank you. Mathieu de Messer from agency France Presse. Is the debate, in your eyes, is the debate on stronger European defense different in the context of Brexit? What's your opinion on that? Is there an opportunity to have a stronger European defense with Brexit, or what's your opinion?
Stronger European defense is something I have been calling for a long time. Because stronger European defense is about nations, European nations, providing capabilities, strategic lift, precision-guided ammunition, and drones, and many other capabilities we need. And the fact that I would like to see more European nations provide more military capabilities is something I've been calling for both before the UK referendum. I call for it after the UK referendum. And I think it's also important to understand that in addition to stronger European defense capabilities, we also need closer cooperation between European nations when it comes to a more effective defense industry. And we need more research and development. And to finance all this, we need increased defense spending among European nations. So for me, this is something which has been important regardless of the UK referendum. And again, as long as this is in complementarity to NATO, and as long as this is not duplicating the efforts of NATO, I think we should only welcome stronger European defense, because that's good for Europe, it's good for the European Union, and it's good for NATO.
Sadef?
I wonder if you have any reaction or comment to the Clinton-Trump debate from yesterday evening and the statement by Donald Trump that he likes NATO, but that he doesn't see the US in the role of a world police. Would President Trump scare you?
I will not be part of the US election campaign, but what I can say is what matters for NATO. And a strong NATO is important for Europe, but it's also important for the United States. And we have to remember that the only time that NATO has invoked Article 5, our collective defense clause, was after an attack on the United States, 9/11/2001. And thousands of soldiers from European NATO allies and also from Canada have been in Afghanistan as a direct response to an attack on the United States. And for me, this illustrates that NATO is good for Europe, but it's also important for the United States. The United States has global responsibilities, and for me, this just underlines the importance of that Europe contributes more, and it's able to provide more military strength and take more responsibility for defenses and security in Europe. Just to, in a way, connect to the previous question, the importance of stronger Europe is not something which is an alternative to a strong NATO. Europe needs the United States, and the European Union needs North America and non-EU NATO members as part of the collective defense we provide in Europe. And if we take Brexit into account, 80% of NATO's defense spending will come from non-EU allies. And 3 out of 4 of the battalions we are going to deploy to the Baltic countries and Poland will be led by non-EU NATO allies, also non-EU members of the NATO alliance, UK, Canada and the United States. So for me, this just illustrates that we need strong transatlantic bond at the same time as we welcome stronger European defense.
Reuters?
Many thanks, Robin Emmett, Reuters. A follow-up to my colleague's question on last night's presidential debate. Mr. Trump claimed that the new ASG for intelligence at NATO would refocus his activities towards counterterrorism. I wondered if that was at all true. And secondly, Mr. Trump also said that the alliance is focusing more on counterterrorism because of his criticism. I wondered if there was any truth in that. Thank you very much.
NATO has played a key role in the fight against terrorism for many, many years. Our biggest operation ever, our military presence in Afghanistan, is a counter-terrorism operation. We went into Afghanistan to prevent Afghanistan from becoming once again a safe haven for international terrorists. And we have built up a substantial and strong Afghan national army and defense. And we support them, help them, train them in fighting Taliban and fighting different terrorist groups. So NATO has and is playing a key role in the fight against terrorism. We have stepped up our efforts to support the US-led coalition to fight ISIL. We will soon provide AWACS surveillance planes to support the coalition fighting ISIL and improve the air picture of the coalition. and we will also step up training of Iraqi officers to increase their capacity to fight ISIL. So NATO is already doing a lot together with other international institutions, together with other nations in the fight against terrorism. The new Assistant Secretary General for Intelligence will also, of course, be a tool in our efforts to fight terrorism, to share intelligence among allies is one of the tools we use in the fight against terrorism. But this is something which has been planned and discussed for a long time, and it's not a result of the US election campaign. So NATO has been focused on the fight against terrorism both or for many, many years, and it's not a result of the US election campaign.
So we move here to the second row, the gentleman, yes, from the Slovak broadcaster.
Thank you. Monsieur le Secrétaire Général, Radio Slovaquie Internationale, Jean Daniel. Yeah, sure, I will. How can you, concretely, how can you see a coordination between, towards refugee? How can you see the coordination between your operation in Aegean Sea and the EU operation in Mediterranean Sea? Thank you.
NATO's presence in the Aegean Sea has been important, and it has made a difference, and it has helped cutting the lines of illegal trafficking across the Aegean Sea and contributed to the significant reductions in crossings over the Aegean Sea. We provide real-time information to the Greek Coast Guard, to the Turkish Coast Guard, and to the EU border agency Frontex. In addition to this practical support in the Aegean Sea, the NATO presence with the naval assets is also important because the NATO presence in the Aegean Sea has provided a platform for enhanced cooperation between Turkey and non-EU member to enhance the cooperation with Greece, an EU member, and with Frontex. And I think that we can learn from what we have done in the Aegean Sea when we now are also establishing the new maritime operation Sea Guardian. And we are in dialogue with the European Union on how we can provide help to Operation Sophia in the central Mediterranean. We're looking into whether we can provide logistical help, intelligence, and in other ways. So this is something which is now being looked into. The details and the operational details are now being looked into together with the European Union, and then we are ready to also support Operation Sophia, but exactly how that is going to be done remains to be decided.
Thank you, that's all we have time for today. See you in Brussels or the next time that we are in Bratislava. Thank you.